Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Administrator Issues and Updates on October 21st, 2025. The script was for Gary Schmidt. Nancy Bush, go ahead, is here today. Gary's out of the office, and so Nancy, would you please do the roll call for us?
Yes, certainly. Ben West will be here in a few moments. Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
And Chair Roberts.
Here, present. All right, thank you. I will now recess as a Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Service District Number 5 Board of Directors. So Nancy, would you please introduce the first agenda item for us?
Yes, the first item is the fiscal year 2025 audit findings and plan of corrective action. And today we have Elizabeth Comfort here to do the presentation. And Commissioners, this will require approval today.
Great.
Good morning, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. I'm Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, and coming to you with a plan of action in response to a finding that was found during the audit process for fiscal year 24-25 for Service District Number 5. It's our power district. And what had occurred, and also I did send an email out with the issued audited financial statements to you on October 2nd, letting you know that we would be coming to you today with this plan of action. So what had occurred is we had received electric invoices for both prior fiscal year before June 30, and also it overlapped through July 8th of this current fiscal year. What happened in our accounting department is it was recorded all in last year with a portion of it going into prepaid. Prepaid is an accounting term that says we're going to pay it in the prior year, but please note part of the expenses for the current year. And so then we would then do an accounting entry to move it into the future fiscal year. However, we had received this invoice in the current fiscal year, so it was a backwards transaction accounting process that we did. We should have recorded it all in this current year and then accrued the prior year's expenditures back. So what this did is by doing the reverse is we actually overstated our liability for fiscal year 24-25 by $52,000 on this electric bill. And we want to do proper accounting. We did correct it once we discovered that that occurred. We did make that correction, but the correction was done after we had submitted all the accounting records to our auditors. So we've now, in our plan of action, we've reviewed this process of exactly the timing of when we receive an invoice. If we receive it in the current year, it all goes in the current year, and we do an accrual. But if it is received prior to June 30, and this is the only time of year that this situation would occur, is at the close at the end of the fiscal year. So if we receive the invoice prior to June 30, we recognize it all in that prior year. So this was a matter of timing because it was just days after the new year. So we've presented to you that we have done a training, and we are also reviewing, we're doing more of a review of all the prepaids and all the accruals. So we are, as you can imagine with the county, we have a lot of transactions, but it is well worth it to make sure that we do a fine-tooth comb process of reviewing all of these transactions for accurate accounting, which is what our goal is. So this has been corrected, and we've implemented our plan in this current year, because this was with one of our special districts. We have 4 other entities that will be going through audit processes, and so we've already done this with those upcoming ones as well, including Clackamas. So I ask you to please consider, if you have any questions, but consider approving this resolution, which we will send then to the Secretary of State, identifying our plan of action. And in the resolution, you will note that this is a deficiency, but it is less than a material weakness. I know, Commissioner West, we've asked before, what is the categories of this, and this is not a deficiency or material weakness, which is very severe. This is that, unfortunately, this has happened before, and we're trying to stop it from occurring again. So I'd ask you to consider approving this resolution.
All right. Colleagues, questions? And I see Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, so just so I understand, Elizabeth, the July 1st to July 8th, that's 7 days, right? Do we get billed weekly, or was this basically a billing cycle that was not calendar, but not from beginning month day to end month day? It overlapped.
Yeah, correct. These billings are for 30 days, but they cross over the end of the month. So they're always in part of one month and part of the next month. And during the year, it doesn't matter because we're looking at 12 entries. However, $53,000 belonged in this current year, and so it's significant enough to be called out to recognize it as not one of the 12, but it's actually a dollar amount that needs to be corrected.
So in order to, I mean, is it possible the vendor could bill us in a calendar month? Or
That
how do
would
you
be
actually
nice.
discern? How do you actually discern what portion of the bill was those 7 days versus others in any kind of accurate science? I mean, you don't need to answer that.
Yeah,
You don't need.
I think that there is science to that, where they calculate how many days of service is charged to one period for daily amounts.
Divide the bill by
Yeah.
30 or 31, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner West?
My questions are actually answered. If you're willing to entertain a motion, Chair, I would be more than happy to make one.
It's my understanding this will go on the October 23rd business meeting for final
Correct,
approval.
yes.
Did you say you
Yes.
needed a decision today?
We need approval today to put it on.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I think
okay.
I
Does
said
that need
this,
a motion?
I led you, so sorry.
Does that need a motion, though, to put it?
No.
No,
you
okay.
you just all have to agree that.
Well,
it
thank you for your
goes.
presentation, and I will do nothing.
All right.
So.
Johnny on the
yeah,
spot.
It appears there's a general consensus. to move
Okay. Thank you.
Having no other questions, thank you very much. All right, I will now adjourn as a Service District Number 5 Board of Directors and reconvene as a Board of County Commissioners. Nancy, what's next?
So next, we have the 2045 Transportation System Plan Public Advisory Committee roster and board member. And today, we have Dan Johnson presenting on this topic. You can come on up. And Mike Bessner.
Good morning, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. We are here, as Chief Operating Officer Nancy Bush so eloquently stated, to do two things. One, to get your authorization for a Public Advisory Committee, and then secondly, to discuss with the board how they might want to be represented on that particular group as well. So just briefly, for those of you who haven't gone through the development of a transportation system plan, we do this approximately every 10 years. It's a pretty extensive process, essentially looking at one of the single biggest assets that you're in charge of, which is our road system throughout Clackamas County. It takes into consideration all the various local, statewide, and regional requirements for that road system, certain design requirements, and does a thorough assessment of that system, which then becomes the basis for our 5-year capital improvement plan and guides investments throughout Clackamas County going forward. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Mike Bessner, who's going to share with you how staff worked diligently to kind of develop the recommendation before you today for the Public Advisory Committee. With that, Mike.
Thanks. So when we do this transportation system plan, we do form, we have a pretty robust public engagement strategy, and a lot of it centers around two committees. And one's a technical advisory committee, which is pretty much staff and consultant and experts to help guide us. The other is the public advisory committee, where we try and get people from our community to have a very meaningful portion, almost like a steering committee for the project. We recruited for this public advisory committee. The recruitment started on August 25th. We actually extended it once because we wanted to get more applications to have more to choose from. We ended up closing it on October 10th. We advertised it. We had a project website. It was in Clatco Monthly. It was in the CPO Hamlet quarterly newsletter, among other things. We announced it in a presentation here in September. We also, when we were visiting with county and regional groups, we always made sure to add it and encourage people to apply. We ended up getting 27 total applications. And so to look at those applications, we had a staff group that looked at them. They used some considerations to try and figure out who to include. One was a big one: do you live, work, or go to school within our county? That was kind of a big one. Are you representing a business, a worship community, a community planning organization or neighborhood group? We tried to get a little bit of an age, varied ages. Unfortunately, we didn't get anyone apply who was under 18. That would have been nice, but we didn't have one. We also considered, are you representing an underserved population, which is actually a requirement in Oregon law, that we include that. And we also wanted to look at the different geographic areas of the county and try and make sure that the distribution was as spread out as it could be. So after careful review by our staff committee, the proposed list is in your packet. There are 16 names. And then there's a slot available for a member of the board, and talk about that in a second, and from the Planning Commission. I do want to also state there are going to be ample opportunities during this 1.5+ year long process for people to engage, even if they're not on this list. We're going to be doing extensive outreach specifically to all the geographic areas. So if somebody wants to contribute and wants to participate, but they don't happen to be on this one committee, they're still going to have lots and lots of opportunities to have meaningful feedback. So as mentioned, along with that list, just like in the prior TSP update that we did back in 2013 or so, we'd like to have a member of the board and a member of the Planning Commission as ex officio members to sit on it. So one, they could report back to the group, but also just to have their perspective. It's very valuable for us to have. The first meeting for this group is coming up. We're hoping to have it on November 12th. And then all the meeting dates, which they are tentative, they might move depending on who's on the committee and who can make it, but they're spread out basically from then until January of 2027. We currently have 5 total meetings over that period of time. So we're here to recommend approval of the Public Advisory Committee roster as shown, and for the board to nominate a commissioner to serve as an ex officio member. Happy to take questions.
Comments? Commissioner, I'm sorry, I didn't see who came up first. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm looking here, and I don't, some of these is vague. Is there anyone that actually has a direct relationship to freight, moving freight?
Yeah, there is one person who owns a towing company.
That's not freight.
I guess that's not freight. I don't think we had any applicants, actually, that were big. I mean, we have somebody here who owns his own business, the towing business. We have someone who is a delivery driver. We have, I mean, if you're looking for like managing a very large operation, we have someone who drives for transportation reaching people. But yeah, I don't know that we have a large freight, but we didn't get any applicants.
Is there a possibility if someone comes along, is there room to add a seat that would be a freight-specific seat?
I don't see why that would be a problem if that's what the board wants.
I would just strongly advocate, because almost on all the transportation committees I sit on and so forth, freight usually has a voice and a seat, and they bring a perspective that is woefully needed in a
Yep.
topic like this.
Yep.
That's all I have for now.
All right, thanks. Commissioner Helm.
Mike, where will the meetings be held?
Oh, I believe the PAC meetings will probably be held here.
Okay.
I'm seeing a big
Thanks,
nod in the
Jeff.
back of the room.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, do you recall on the, and maybe you would know this too, Mike, on the Sunrise Corridor Steering Advisory Committee, didn't we have someone from the trucking industry on that? Or did Jamie reach out to those people individually?
We reached, a lot of that correspondence we did separately and independently from the specific businesses that were up and down the corridor. And
we
we
had
we
trouble
import we
finding
incorporated
people.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we incorporated that. I mean, to deal with, or not deal with, but to address the concern and the desire about a freight representation, we can do some targeted outreach of members of that group. I'm just thinking about a couple, like if there's a rep from like Prologis, or if there's somebody from Pacific Seafood or somebody that might want to have interest, just do kind of extend a hand if that has interest them.
I can help that along. I think the person that was a Safeway, I can't remember his name, but he was from.
Daryl Woods.
Yeah,
was
Daryl
on it,
Woods. Yeah, it was Daryl.
He's retired now.
Yeah, but I think that'd be an important seat to have. Just knowing how much we have invested in some of our renewal areas and investments that are, people either move freight or product, and it's big stuff, right? So I hear concerns that we don't have adequate capacity or traffic congestion, so forth, that impacts them on a cost basis hourly when there's guys are stuck there in traffic on whether it's Highway 212 or I-5 or anywhere else. You know, Clackamas is Clackamas. This is a Clackamas-specific plan.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I guess just keeping that in mind if a recommendation comes forward, if you can make sure you clarify with the possible addition of a freight representative, that'd be great. Then affords us the opportunity to go out and try to secure somebody.
Right.
All right, Commissioner West?
Thank you, Commissioner Savas, for that question. Mine wasn't as specific as freight, but I did see a lack of industry involved. And I actually thought of Pacific Seafood right off the bat. And I think one of my colleagues just mentioned Pacific Seafood. You know, we also have Pro Trucking Lines is in the county, so is Glowstone Trucking Solutions. So there's a few good freight moving companies. I see small business owners and advocates. I see faith community, a towing company, but definitely more even of that traded sector, industrial. I don't know, just that diversification within who's representing was along lines I was thinking. And then Commissioner Savas, you specifically and rightfully so brought up freight. So that was kind of my thoughts also.
There's also a Jana Jarvis who recommends works for OTA, and her office is in Clackamas. So if nothing else, she might be a source if we can't get any private sector folks. I'd rather have a private sector person
Yeah.
that's vested here. But Jana would be a great backup if we can't get anyone else.
We can reach out.
Yeah. Freight West Global, I think, is here too. Yeah. They have a good amount of employees.
So I think the two questions we have is the Public Advisory Committee roster going through, and then also talking about a commissioner. So maybe we could start out with the Public Advisory Committee roster as presented. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the roster with the addition of adding or seeking a freight representative, freight
Second.
business representative.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved to approve the Public Advisory Committee roster as presented with an addition of a freight representative. Commissioner Schrader has seconded that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Now, colleagues, there's a motion to nominate a commissioner to represent the board on the committee. Is there somebody interested in doing that?
I'm looking at you all. Diana?
I'm looking at you.
Is everybody's doing
We're looking right back at
We're a
you.
lot of fun. I'm not sure. No.
I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Commissioner Savas, nominate Commissioner Savas.
Does he want it?
You want it?
I'm getting off, well, the Sunrise's work is all done, so I guess I can take this on.
Wow,
Okay.
thank you.
So,
Good.
To represent the board on the committee. And I don't know, is there an alternate in case you can't? Because I would suggest Commissioner Helm. for
Commissioner Helm would be
that. Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
How about, what do you think, Commissioner Helm?
And-
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Okay. And in the event Commissioner Savas has a conflict that Commissioner Helm, yeah.
Right, do I have a second?
I will I would second that, yes. I'm glad to do so.
just beware, what goes around comes around.
I know, I'm sure it will, but this time.
How fast can he make this motion? Here it comes.
Yeah, I better get it done.
Let's vote.
right? All right, Commissioner Schrader has moved to nominate Commissioner Savas to the Public Advisory Committee. Commissioner Helm has agreed to be the alternate. It's been seconded by Commissioner West. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll for us?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Okay.
Abstain.
Mr. Chair.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Nancy, what's next?
All right, next we have the advisory boards and commissions, and Andrew Jaraki is going to present that today.
Mr. Chair, there are 2 advisory bodies for the board to consider today. The first is the Local Public Safety Coordinating Council, staffed by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, which currently has 1 opening on their commission due to incumbent resignation. 1 applicant is recommended for appointment. Recruitment took place to the public from May to September of 2025. Through this recruitment process, 3 applications were received, all were interviewed, and 1 is recommended. The recommendation is as follows. Charles Gallia to a first term ending October 2029. The board could select other candidates or require further recruitment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions, colleagues?
Ready for a motion?
Right, may I have a motion?
I move we appoint Charles Gallia to the Local Public Safety Coordinating Council.
Second?
All right, Commissioner Schrader has moved to appoint Charles Gallia to the Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. It's been seconded by Commissioner Helm. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and thank you, Charles, for volunteering. I see Charles is here today. What is the second advisory body nomination for us to consider today?
Thank you, Chair. The second advisory body you'll consider today is the Community Health Council. The Community Health Council, staffed by Health, Housing, and Human Services Department, recently opened a recruitment for the Community Health Council to fill 3 positions, 2 incumbent and 1 new. The first new appointment is Deborah Newton, appointment to a first term ending September 2027. And the 2 reappointments are J. Renell Morrow to a second term ending September 2027, and Brianne Savalti to a second term ending September 2027. The board could require further recruitment or select other candidates, Mr. Chair.
Okay, questions, colleagues? Okay, may I have a motion?
I move we appoint Deborah Newton, Renee Muro, and Brianne Salvati to the Community Health Council.
Second.
It was close to a tie. I'll give it to Commissioner Schrader. So Commissioner Helm has moved to appoint Deborah Newton, Renell Murrow, and Brianna Savate to the Community Health Council. It's been seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll for us?
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners, reconvene as the Housing Authority Board, and I will turn to Nancy.
Yes, now we have the indemnity for the Executive Director Certification of Federal Grant Terms. Presenting today is Acting County Counsel Scott Seco and Ryan Hammond.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners, Scott Seco and Ryan Hammond here on behalf of County Council to follow up on a conversation that began in executive session today. The issue being that the Housing Authority of Clackamas County receives certain federal funding, and as a condition of receiving that funding, someone from the Housing Authority needs to sign a certification that is required by the federal government. That certification being broad and to a certain extent vague, carries with it some risk of personal liability, even despite our good faith effort and our good faith belief that we can sign that certification truthfully. But as in acknowledgement of that risk, we've asked the board to authorize the executive director of the Housing Authority to sign this particular certification today to receive their funding, as today is a deadline, and also in signing that to grant them indemnity that would be comparable to the indemnity provided to all county employees under the Oregon Tort Claims Act. And so for your consideration is a board order that would accomplish that. If you choose to adopt that, also with the understanding being that we will be back before you at some point in the near future to address the broader issue of other certifications that are required by the federal government.
Right. Commissioner West.
I don't know if this is the right time to bring it up, but this was quick, so thank you for your quick response. We did talk about this. I did read it. Right actually in front of us, I think, I don't know if we bring up, might be a typo. Under B, and that says the executive director promptly provides written notice to county council of any actual threatened action against them, and fully 7 cooperates in the defense. Is that a typo?
I think the 7 is definitely a typo. Commissioner, we can get a.
And I don't know if we need to rectify, I don't know if that's important to speak to, or if because we read it, we got it right before, I read it before we walked into the meeting. That stood out to me, but everything else, I think you guys on the fly did pretty good and captured what we wanted to in the executive session. So I'll support this, but I didn't know if we needed to address that.
We'll get you a clean copy without the number 7 there in paragraph B.
Good catch.
So Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Seco, I thought I heard you say, and correct me if I misinterpreted it, but as I read this, it seems to be specific. You know, we're here convening as the Housing Authority, and so makes sense here. We're talking about the executive directors, you know, acting, and this applies to that indemnification of HACC's executive director. But I thought I heard you say all officers or all folks that are doing this work. And I think we were very specific earlier today, making it was this position only.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner. And if I misspoke, I apologize. Today before you is only this executive director for this single certification. We do intend to bring the broader issue back before this board at a later time because there will be other certifications that will need to be signed.
Okay, all right. With that clarification, I'll move to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Savis has moved to approve the resolution. Commissioner West has seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
I will now adjourn as the Housing Authority Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Nancy?
All right, next up is the board business meeting agenda review for October 23rd, 2025. It is a pretty short agenda. We have the public testimony, consent agenda, and then commissioners' communications. If you approve of that, that will be posted for Thursday. All right.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes,
I have
sorry,
my
Commissioner
light on.
Savis, I'm sorry.
Andrew, do you have the agenda? Usually it's posted up there. Could you just put it back up? Because I
to
had
share it on
something
the
on
screen,
there that I
Commissioner.
flagged, and I want to make sure I read it correctly. The consent agenda for Thursday. Okay, well, okay, scroll back down just a little bit, okay. And, all right, so I'm gonna write this down, hang on. And then go down a little bit, okay, there we go, so it's B, okay, so A and B. So, colleagues, I am interested in one, or A, number 3, under elected officials. So the approval of intergovernmental agreement with the city of Estacada for law enforcement services, you know, Chair, you know what this is about. I know that we had spoken several times, and I've even spoken with CCSO staff over the years about making improvements to make sure that we are fully costing out the cost of delivering that. So in the interest of not only the county, but also CCSO, I want to make sure that that amount and that methodology is that we're getting full value for it, so that we're as adequately funded as possible. I do have a information request and to understand the methodology and maybe get several years of looking at those contracts, both not just for, well, in this case, for City of Estacada. I don't want to complicate it, but I do want to make sure that this agreement is, getting the full cost recovery, because otherwise, public safety will suffer if we don't have adequate funding. That's my rationale. That's my purpose. And if I can get colleagues, if I can get enough information between now and Thursday, great, but if not, I may want to pull it from the consent agenda on Thursday. I just want to give you fair warning. And I also, on B1, which is the approval of a purchase order for basically a thermal sensor for the sheriff's office airplane, I'm just curious about that. I mean, not so much that, but also just the maintenance and cost for the plane itself. I have friends of mine that own planes, and I do know that they have to go through a annual certification and inspection process, and just like to know more about how much money we're spending there. I think having thermal sensor, and I understand how that can be used in a positive way, would be a great thing. So I think I'm good with that. But I do have just more information about the sheriff's office plane in particular, because they're expensive to maintain.
Commissioner West.
Can I ask you, Commissioner's Office, a question, since you brought this up? Why specifically are we only looking at the City of Estacada? Are you concerned about other contracts with the CCSO and city contracts?
Well, I've made it clear that I want to make sure that everything we're doing, that the sheriff's office is getting adequate funding for the services it provides, right?
Agreed.
I mean, that's something that we all agree on, that we all value public safety. So, but that's the only one that's on the consent agenda. Is
True.
Estacada for today.
Okay.
So to answer your question, why that one? Because it's on the
consent agenda, but you're not opposed to a broader look?
Not at all.
Okay. And then back to the infamous plane that did or did not exist for many years. It's like a phantom plane, but it turns out it was real. It says no general funds are involved. Are you asking clarification? Are you asking for this to be removed from consent agenda?
No. All I'm saying is that.
You want a further look at the expense of the plane?
I was just more the expense of the plane.
Okay.
Yeah, just knowing how much it cost, and, when, if it's felt that you need a new engine, that's pretty darn expensive. Even the annual inspections can be pretty expensive at times, too.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to just alert you, that just caught my attention.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I think you kind of brought up a couple subjects I seem to know something about. So I think I can just tell you, when I became sheriff, Paul, I can appreciate your concern about that, because as I looked at the contracts for all our services, that we were not charging adequately. And we probably spent a good year coming up with a methodology. We actually went to King County, Washington. They provide contracted services. We actually spent a lot of time looking at how they were doing their recovery to make it sure, because the unincorporated area does not need to be paying for services in the cities, which they were. And so we were able to rectify that. In the contract, I think my limit, I could increase it as much as 8% in 1 year, and then we continued to renegotiate the contract. So we actually then secondarily we made that major increase, and then we also met with all the city managers and spent probably another 6 to 8 months wanting to make sure that they felt like it was fair across the board. So it is something constantly trying to look at and make sure that that we're doing our best to recover those costs, because so I think that's a great question to bring up. So
Can I ask you a question, because you did it,
Yeah.
and that is like, so, I know that we do our budget, right? Whatever department it is, in this case, it's CCSO as a budget, you don't nail it down to the penny, right? Or the dollar. And I think I see the value there at, $506, right? Or the last 3 digits being 506. And I imagine that one year you might have a deal where maybe it was overtime heavy for a particular event, or maybe the price of fuel went up or down. So knowing that that's flexible. So are the contracts inflexible?
Yeah,
The
and I'm pretty
contract
sure,
amount?
and we'd have to double check with the sheriff, but the way it was is there is a year-end reconciliation, so if you went less, then they got reimbursed. If you went over, then they covered it.
Okay.
So that was in there. I believe it's still in there, but I would want to double check with the sheriff.
Yeah.
So the goal was to make sure that, it was fair for everybody involved. And then the second thing, I think Ben kind of brought it up, is to make sure that contracts are uniform for all the cities. We didn't want to be appearing to give a better deal to
Sure,
somebody
of
else.
course, of
They all
course.
talk, and we just said, let's all come together and come up with a fair cost model. So it can be in flex a little bit as new technology and things come up. As body cameras came in, that's additional cost, so that's going to be added to the contract. So good questions.
Yeah, and just a little bit of recent history, I guess. Recent is 4 or 5 years that during, was it 2021 maybe, or 2022? I met with CCSO staff. You were also, when you were sheriff, you would accommodate a request here to talk about parts of the budget, but I did sit and spend a lot of time with, Jenna Morrison and Nancy Artman, and going over, the CCO's ESPO budget and so forth. And I tried to get to the methodology of how the contracts for the cities were actually put together. And I didn't get the sense that some some elements were factored into the equation. So maybe that's been rectified by now, right? But I did, that's why I'm curious.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we have as much funding
Right.
for public safety as possible.
Yeah, and then just to kind of address the FLIR system, so in my recollection, I want to double check. I mean, the sheriff has had a plane for a long time. You are correct. They're not cheap to run. They don't run them all the time, and they use them on different missions. It probably has $400,000 worth of technology on it. It actually has some of the same technology alert to avoid mid-air collisions. We worked with Andy Cheech with FLIR, who donated huge amounts of high-tech technology to kind of help us. The one benefit I just will tell you is that FLIR system is also excellent for detecting early possible sites for fires. That you wouldn't even see with your naked eye. So it is some pretty valuable equipment that is not necessarily needed every day. Portland has, I think, a couple, and part of which is my hope was always the strategy is you don't need a ton of planes up all at one time, and if there was a regional effort to kind of do that, it would help reduce everybody's cost. But it's a good question.
Yeah, I have no quarrel. I totally agree with having the thermal sensor, and I see the value in that. It's just more the cost of the
Yeah.
plane itself over time.
And there is, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's getting old. It's
Yeah,
probably at least.
and there's certain hours
it's
you
at
have
least-
to
it's
do
at
them,
least
yeah.
It's at least 20 years old,
Yeah.
right, if I recall right.
So, good question, so. All right. Anything else, Nancy?
So I just want to clarify, are you going to give us a list of questions that we need to send in for A3?
Happy to.
Before
Yeah,
Thursday? And if we
happy to.
can't answer those before
Yeah.
I'll be chatting with both of you then about that. And we do want to check on B1, just to ask the maintenance question, correct?
Yeah, and
Okay.
like I said, that's not going to be, whether or not I actually I don't think I'll be pulling that one per se, it's just more of a question, a
Okay,
conversation
yeah, we're
piece.
happy to ask that question and answer it as well. All right, if everything else is all right, we'll move on to Commissioner Communication.
Right, and Commissioner Schrader.
Oh, I don't know where to start, actually. There's been so much this week. This week has been pretty crazy.
Already.
here. And I had my last meeting of a cohort I was part of at the National Association of Counties called it was a work for on economic mobility. And so yesterday I had the opportunity to present to some of my colleagues the work that we've done on housing, which is important, the work that we're actually, that economic and development, I see some of our economic development folks in the back are actually starting to look at childcare as part of that economic jobs piece. that we look at, because if people can't get to work because of childcare, it's a hindrance to them to get to work. And right now, we heard information today that it's getting more and more difficult for even two-income families. We were down at the workforce conversation at the Abernathy Center put on by Clackamas Workforce Partnerships and other folks, and how that's becoming more difficult. So even with two parents working, they have the expense of childcare and how we have been working as a county. The presentation you're going to see today from Economic Development, I actually presented it yesterday to our economic mobility cohort, and I'm hoping that the the National Association of Counties will look at us as a possible case study that I think would be really, really interesting to share with the rest of the nation on this one. I had a great conversation yesterday with Kim Parker, who used to be one of our workforce board folks. And I was talking to her about what's happening in workforce in the Mid-Willamette Valley. And just recently, I had a conversation with Andrew McGough, who is retiring from up north with the Multnomah, Washington, group, that they have. And kind of about the future of workforce. What is that going to mean? Are we going to be looking at ways to be more efficient and potentially consolidate? So I've been doing all that research at this point. I just got an email from the National Guard today that we will be setting up a ravioli dinner. Ben, I think you probably got it too, with the new Adjutant General. We are renewing our relationship with our guardsmen and our National Guard, because Camp Withicum is in our county, and I'm really looking forward to doing that again, because in the past we have committed to always help our military personnel and their families, and it looks like we're going to be carrying that on into the future as well. Finally, tomorrow I get to go to Dragonberry Farms and have a tour and lunch, and they are a big part of our agricultural economy here in the Valley. I had an opportunity to meet the executive director, or the CEO, because she is a member of Clackamas Workforce Partnership, and I'm going to be asking her specifically some questions about workforce tomorrow as I go have lunch with them. And also tomorrow is the Oregon Business and Industry 2025 Vision Oregon event. And it's a great way to meet some of our larger traded sector partners in the region who really help the economy, and I'm looking forward to that. I've gone to them in the past, and again, I'm looking forward to going tomorrow as well. So that's all I have right now.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned to you all that I attended the Sunrise, and Commissioner Helm also, last Wednesday night, the Sunrise Gateway, kind of a celebration and into the next phase. I didn't really mention that about the brief event I attended at Clackamas Community College on Harmony campus with regard to the TriMet thing that was being put on there. They have had our staff are all over this too, have shown me before the public's these surveys were going out, as the survey questions, which seem to be a little bit far from scientific, and I think some are kind of problematic questions, and I am concerned that it might actually, and they said it might either take completely away or a substantial amount of funding away for people who rely on some of our transit services, not necessarily TriMet services, but more lift services that we provide here with H3S, whether it's Canby Transit or Wilsonville, Sandy Transit, Malala, all those areas that provide transit services, affordable, practical shuttles that we're all paying for. I'm just concerned that they are going to cut, and there's a number of things that staff have noticed, and I've also been talking to, and as a result of our JPAC meeting, other elected officials in other parts of the region outside of Clackamas that are also a little bit on edge about this. I learned late last week that Washington County put together a letter to TriMet. It is in its record now. So I have asked staff to put together, so they'll be working on a letter I'll be bringing to you on Tuesday for consideration or modification. So to want to just alert you that that is coming. I will talk probably a little bit more in great detail, on Thursday, but we had the Concord Library, Community Center, and Park, SCPRD Park opening on Saturday. Huge success. I knew there were hundreds of people. I walked away saying I'd never seen so many people at any Oak Lodge event ever in the 40-something years I've lived there. And when staff came back and said there were over 2,000 people there, that kind of made sense. So that's probably why. It was a great event, a lot of positivity, a lot of people interested in all aspects, people that were fascinated with the park or the library, and overwhelmingly, I was kind of shocked how many people were actually surprised, really ecstatic about the community center element itself. So every element of the three was a lot of great appreciation, and people everywhere. It was just a great event. Shout out to all of our staff again for their role in making this happen, and my colleagues on the commission, past and present. My gratitude for making that a reality. And it was a great day. That said, Chair, I know we have a lot of things going on today, so I will cut it short there and yield back.
All right, thank you, Commissioner West.
It is a very packed day. Had an opportunity to present at the El Nido, which means the Nest, new housing development in Lake Oswego. And we're really excited about this, right off of Boone's Ferry Road. Martha, not too far from our boutique Goodwill that we often shop at together. We do, so, but it's a great spot. Really exciting that project has come to fruition. The residents there will be 60% of AMI. Just over 20% of those residents will also be supportive housing services. They're some of our most vulnerable individuals that have struggled with homelessness, and they're now ready to transition into more permanent supportive housing. And so we are also helping with that. I just want to make clear, though, that we're very, very committed to providing all the services necessary to the individuals that receive that type of housing to be successful in that housing, and for that whole entire development to be successful as an entire community. We are keeping close eyes and bringing a level of accountability that maybe has not been common enough here in the Portland metro area, but in Clackamas County, we will do that, and we are committed to doing that and making sure that whoever is in that property is a good fit for it, so everyone can be successful. It's 55 units overall. The development, the pictures of it at the groundbreaking were beautiful. I even liked the renderings of they had like ivy going up the brick. It was very nice. The renderings were very nice, and a great time to hang out with the group and Inestro with Hacienda. What a fabulous guy in our community. What a wonderful job he is doing. And we have already been collaborating with him, and specifically Mayor Buck, to help make sure that this is successful, and that if you grow up in a community, if you live in a community, if you want to work in a certain community, that you can afford to have housing in that community that you choose to reside in. Lake Oswego does not have the lowest cost of living out of all of our communities in the state. It is one of the more expensive places, but we want to be very inclusive with making sure that people, regardless of where they are in the socioeconomic realms, that they have the ability to also have a place to call home. And this really does fit our overall recovery-oriented system of care here within the county. One component of that continuum of care is appropriate housing and successful housing. So we were happy to partner in that. I was happy to speak. It was a wonderful opportunity, and so I appreciate that. Also, I just want to bring a little levity, and maybe it's a good omen. I got to the grand opening of the Oak Lodge Library in Concord a little early because Commissioner Hellman, I knew it would be busy. She's like, you might want to get there a little early because there's going to be parking issues. And that's a good problem to have because the turnout was amazing. It was one of the best community events in that area, in the county, that I've been to in a long time. The turnout was phenomenal. Kids all over the place playing and having a good time. But I got there early. People were still setting up their booths and tents and whatnot. And this Cooper hawk, it's a medium-sized hawk, They're common in the area. But a Cooper's hawk flew down on the wooden fence and perched before it got too busy there. He stood there for about 10 minutes, and we got to get out and take pictures of him. And he was just chilling, so nature was happy, the people were happy, the community was thriving. I mean, it was very kumbaya. It was very good. So in today's culture and tension that we often face with one another, that seemed to have dissipated for a nice sunny afternoon, and we all got to enjoy the opening, the grand opening Oak Lodge. And I, know that Commissioner Savas and others and Commissioner Schrader have been doing the Lord's work on that project for a long time. And so we really appreciate that and see the work that you and countless community members that I will not, because we don't have the time, but they were recognized, and some were even too humble to be recognized, but we know who you are. We've seen you engage in your community. We've got eyes on you. Thank you for your work. So it was a lot of fun. It was great. And fair warning, Martha and I might have identified a new pollination garden.
Yes, we have.
We might have, so watch out. Martha's always looking for a pollination garden. We
Gary.
might have found a new one on our way walking you to your car.
Yeah, Gary's gone, so don't tell him. Let him come back from his vacation before he hyperventilates, because we found his.
We're not sure if we own the property, but we think we do. Dan, I see you in the back.
We think we do, and remember, it cuts down on mowing cost. You don't have to touch it, it just grows every year. Really.
Okay, you pollinators.
Okay, and
I
then-
gotta get to Helm.
And then the last thing, I told you I'd be brief, and I'm totally lying. Looking forward to a couple important things later this week. And we have a Metro meeting later today, and there's some important things that conversations having around SHS. We have an Eagle Creek property that the chair and I are going to go check out a potential park for partnering with Metro. So things are moving along, and I appreciate the opportunity to catch the community up, Chair.
Great, thank you so much. Commissioner Helm.
Okay, so Friday, Commissioner West, you were also there at the 4Ds
Yes.
Gratitude Night Gala over in North Portland.
Nice.
And very full house. It was a very exciting event. And this is the Youth Alcohol and Drug Recovery Center. And you know what I didn't know? I learned they have outposted all over the state of Oregon and in Washington as well. So some of these the people that have gone through the program, they go back to their hometowns and they get one open there. So it was really cool. Some really good stories we heard. It was fabulous. The opening of the Oak Lodge Library and the Concord Community Park and Community Center was amazing. I did get there early, had probably way too early, but there's nothing like the sound of screaming children. No, they're
In a context.
happy. They're happy. It was so cool, and I got to see a friend of my son's that was at my house a lot during high school, and he is married and has 2 kids and lives down the street, and everyone's just thrilled to have this. So. And the amount of community members that volunteered their time also blew me away. And there's nothing harder for me than to see a man up there crying, happy tears of all this work that they've done and finally see come to fruition. So it was fabulous. This morning, I attended the State of the Workforce Forum down at the Abernethy Center. A lot of facts and figures, things that we know, things that we don't know. There's a lot of things we need to work on, but yes, childcare comes up as a huge issue for our workforce. So lots of opportunity out there, and I think I met someone who has some answers that Laura introduced me to. That I think there's we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's other states doing things that are working, and they can make their bottom lines work. So we need to figure out how to get it done. So that's it, Chair.
Right. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to hold my comments till Thursday, just echoing the great opening of the Concord. And it was great to see all those kids playing. So I echo that. So moving on, this concludes our administrative issues and updates. So we'll now proceed to our afternoon policy session. And Nancy, would you please introduce the first item for us?
Absolutely. First up, we have the Office of Economic Development Work Plan Update. And Dan Johnson, the Director of Transportation and Development, and Laura Edmonds, Manager, Office of Economic Development, will be presenting today.
Thank you so much, Chair Roberts. Commission, we are here to do all things Eco Devo this afternoon. We don't get a chance to come up in front of you as often as we like, but we're here today to kind of share on three specific areas of interest that's really kind of directing the economic development work in and around Clackamas County. I'm just going to do a quick introduction, then turn it over to Laura Edmonds, who's our manager for the Office of Economic Development, to kind of run through the topic. And we'll be happy to answer questions you might have on these various topics as we go through the afternoon's conversation. So with that, the first issue is, the first item, and this is informational only update, is a sharing of the Office of Economic Development's work plan. A number of you were not around in 2023 when we came forward and with development of the Office of Economic Development work program. I really want to take a step back before we get into this data, because I think it's important to really understand some of the impact that the pandemic had on this particular program. A lot of their work was redirected and focused a lot on getting CARES money and other money out to small businesses and things of that nature. So a lot of these big directives, goals, strategies, for all intents and purposes, were mothballed for some period of time. In fact, we had a pretty significant staff reduction. So with Laura's hiring in this management role, she has managed to staff that program completely up. It is, well, it's not, it was until last week, but essentially staffed up, and they are operating and moving forward. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura to kind of share the program, the goals, and the objectives of our Office of Economic Development.
Thanks, Dan. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. I'm happy to be here before you, and looking forward to actually sharing some of the great work that the Office of Economic Development staff have been doing over the last year, and last couple years, really. So as of September 13th, you, the board, accepted the OED's work plan, and this plan included key economic priorities, economic goals, and strategies to support a vibrant economy. With the recent adoption of the county's strategic plan, minor revisions have been included to ensure the focus on the land availability and childcare have been included. In your attachment A, those are detailed. In this work plan, it's a guiding document for us. It includes a lot of what we do. It doesn't include everything that we do, but it's a nice summary of the work that the team, our very small team, performs throughout the year. So some of the accomplishments I'd really like to highlight for you today, I'll start with the business retention and expansion recruitment program that we do. Part of that is we have a couple incentives that we get to use to help enhance business and make them more vibrant. The first, over the last 3 years, our enterprise zone investments have yielded $31 million of taxable value, creating 568 jobs. In our inaugural year of our business development grant, our investment of $550,000 is going to yield $4.8 million. That's about an 8 times of ROI for our very small investment. And that 4.8 will be in taxable capital improvements. That so far, and that's just the current reporting so far, we've created 15 new jobs and 3 businesses have relocated to Clackamas County with that funding. Kind of exciting. So the workforce development grants that we developed, this over a 2-year period, these are through scholarships for Clackamas Community College and their CTE programs. We totaled $200,000 over 2 years, yielding 118 scholarships and up to 22 career, technical, and education program areas. Those grants offer up to $3,500 per student, so we've averaged about $1,694 per student scholarship. Okay, so they've varied. Moving on, we've been performing, or we assessed our available lands scope for our industrial site readiness study. That contract has officially been signed. The work has started, and we should have some results in about 12 weeks for that industrial site readiness study. I won't go too deep into that because you're going to hear about that today too, and a little bit more of an update. And then, of course, childcare will be partnering with Health and Housing Human Services on the childcare implementation team, and we're going to be able to assess alternatives to address the lack of childcare options within the area. Our first meeting is set for November 12th. Some work has already been done through our work plan, but we will proceed to move into the next stages of that to be able to identify through team engagement some additional work and strategies. With that said, so attachment B, I'd like to move into this. This provides a little bit more of a comprehensive list of some of the work taking place in our department. So, the business recruitment, and I'll call it BRE for lack of, save, a few breaths, but the business retention, expansion, and recruitment, our BRE strategy. So this is continuous in everything we do. It's probably about 70% of our work, the work that our team does. Every one of our team members touches business in some fashion. So the outreach, we work with regional partners, regional associations, and local providers, and then one-on-one business meetings, of course. We're engaging in economic development and regional associations, private meetings, and really focusing our energies in business on focusing on business and industrial growth conversations. I mentioned the programs that we're offering, enterprise zones and business development grants, so I'm not going to go into those again. Some of the other supportive grants that we've done through your approval is the arts grants for creatives, cultural, and historical organizations. So we invested $110,000 with the Clackamas County Arts Alliance, and they are able to support artists, cultural organizations as a fiscal agent, and they provide training, event planning, exhibition opportunities, so they're really there to support that small business hub who are our artists. We did $100,000 for the Museum of Oregon Territory, and that is help to support operations, historical exhibits, preservations, and K-12 education programs. Your approval, we did the $100,000 Cultural Coalition grant. That was 28 grants of $85,000, and I think that information had been sent to you via email for an update. And then, of course, we're developing we develop every year an economic landscape analysis. This assesses the health and industry of the county. It tracks 5 industries: healthcare, manufacturing, high-tech, food systems, and logistics. That is completed. That information will be coming to you shortly or soon, and so you'll get that report so you can see what the health of the county is. We perform ongoing work with our business to identify facilities for expansion. We've done some great work. One example is a transmission tower manufacturer, Commissioner Savas. We toured that recently. And that's the money, the investments that we're making and the time spent is helping these businesses to retention efforts are very important. So we were able to retain this business in the community by helping them find an adjacent lot that they are currently acquiring so that they can expand their footprint and probably double their business size. And they are growing nationally. They're nationally recognized and on the West Coast as the top manufacturer in their field for this. So pretty excited about the work we're doing with retention and expansion for business operations. Okay. And of course, we're engaged in identifying emerging markets. We're connected with other partners for site selectors from national and international organizations. And so we're working in that area. And then, of course, because of the work we've done in our business development grants, we got the attention of a pilot through a presentation of a pilot program for tourism, and they are awarding us $1 million to be able to administer a small grant program on their behalf that will help to support businesses that pretty much offer tourism services and supportive services. So that's a lot of the BRE work that we're doing. And then, of course, workforce development, that's that $100,000. Nothing resulted for '25 yet because they're still investing. But as I mentioned in the total sums, but the '24 totals were 60 students with 16 CTE programs. In 2023 was 58 students and 22 CTE programs. And we are continuously engaging with our educators to expand curriculum opportunities, working with businesses to identify gaps in training for future workforce readiness. So that's a quick, brief summary on that one. And then, of course, available land and business development. Again, we're going to go in a little bit more detail on this during our, one of our other presentations, but the industrial site readiness study, again, we're in the process of doing that. We're collaborating regionally to identify opportunities to hopefully maybe have conversations with the urban growth boundary methodologies and maybe loosen up some land for development. We are collaborating with our cities to support their expansion and development plans. We're identifying incentives and funding sources to support industrial expansion. And then, of course, engaging with our county implementation team to identify additional business expansion opportunities, tools, and techniques for expansion. Childcare, we'll be working with, we're beginning the engagement with our county implementation team to assess childcare needs in Clackamas County. Through that, we're going to be determining existing facilities, potential gaps, staffing, training needs, and developing strategies for potentially creating new childcare opportunities in Clackamas County. And that work is just getting started, so more to come on that at some future date.
So real quick, I mean, a lot of this was an opportunity to kind of share this with you, especially for those of you who weren't here in 2023. Some of the work that we're doing is, again, to refine it and bring it into compliance and alignment with the strategic plan and the guidance that you gave us. So you're seeing some adjustments in this. We're going to do a little work to kind of pretty it up, in all honesty, to make it more kind of a document that we can ship or provide and hand out if you get questions or inquiries, and guiding them to our 4Biz line, where EcoDevo provides direct assistance to businesses. But again, this is just kind of a snapshot. You don't get a chance to come up here and kind of share with you kind of the diversity of areas that our Office of Economic Development is working in. It's kind of an awkward time, in all honesty, because there is some of this work that really transitions into the implementation teams. So we're trying to give you kind of some information, but again, saving some of it because we're working with those teams right now to kind of refine a lot of those inquiries that you have today, especially around available lands and around childcare. So we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Diane Hill.
Can you expand, Laura, on the, thank you for this presentation. It's fascinating, and I'm looking forward to more because this is getting me up to speed on a lot of stuff. The transmission tower manufacturer that you said you helped them with acquiring land next to them? Can you?
We helped them to locate land that was available because they were looking to grow. And what happened was their existing site, they're outgrowing it.
Okay.
And so they approached us for assistance. They approached us for assistance because they were already an existing enterprise zone client, and so they already knew us. So they reached out, and then we ended up doing a lot of site studies and trying to find either sites that they could purchase and develop from scratch or acquire or lease and then grow.
Okay.
And through the conversations, they ended up finding a property owner who was looking to sell. And so we were able to make some connections for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
Interesting.
Commissioner Schrader.
I just wanted to thank you for all the work you've done, because after COVID, there was nothing, I mean, it was just so stagnant. And I think to see this program revitalized, and I'd say even more stellar than the work we'd even done previously, is really remarkable. And thank you for including this child care piece. It's been kind of something we've talked about for a while. And so what I see the issue there is there's a lot of information that just needs to be codified with numbers and data. That's what we need is we need a map. We need to see what's where, when, and how, who's, you know what I mean? Who are the nonprofits? Who are the smaller, like how many smaller providers do we have? where they're located in the county. And then, for instance, our ESD as well is involved in childcare and early learning hubs. But part of the issue I have, we do have a lot of soft information, but it's never really been mapped with significant numbers of how many facilities do we have, what the overall. I know that there is a data paper out there, I believe that Human Services has pulled together that might be helpful too. But then we can start looking at it and maybe even convincing our business community. At the National Association of Counties, I presented once about that we had pulled our business community development, our business community folks over to talk about how childcare was with businesses, and we involved businesses, and they were pretty impressed with that. I didn't think it was a new idea, but evidently it's a new idea. Maybe the employers, if we give them an ROI estimates, and we know what they're getting for a return on investment, that might be a trigger to help too, I think, with the amount of daycare facilities we need in this county, so.
So that's an interesting topic that we're looking to come back and have a discussion with you as a part of the implementation team dialogue. There is a fine line, and there's a fine line between childcare to support business and economic development growth and this childcare for all nuance. And we really need some help and clarity in figuring out where that line is and who you want to target, because it's a blurry line, in all honesty. And because we're coordinating on that particular effort with H3S representatives. It's very, near and dear to their heart. They're really focused on working on it. And that guidance that we're looking to get from you is really going to guide kind of where that discussion goes and how that discussion takes place.
What I'm trying to look for is a lot of other opportunities, because I think that for good or for ill, we're Purple County. Mm-hmm. And I certainly don't want to go out and continue to put any other financial burdens on our business community in terms of taxes. This has to be something that is, and it's going to be difficult to do. It is going to be difficult to do. We might be pioneers in this field, because the other issue is that sometimes the pay that child care providers get is it's difficult for them to, continue and make a living. So there's multiple facets to this. But I want to make sure that at least we explore it and see if there's innovative ways we can increase capacity. And I am getting information from the National Association that can inform us what other counties have done across the nation, that I will be sure to get to you guys.
Thank you.
Like I said, this is uncharted territory, as you know.
Agreed. Well, I think that there's been a lot of good work put into that, as well as the previous, economic development work through this office. And I think H3S, I think there's a lot of good work that we're going to be able to utilize during our assessments, and it's going to help us. So we appreciate the information, and we'll take that feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Well, just one other addition to that is at the State of the Workforce Forum today, one of the things biggest thing I took away was wages have not kept up with inflation, right? So, for a 2-income family to try to afford childcare, it's just not even doable anymore. I mean, it's become nearly impossible. So I know my son and his wife just had a baby, and for her to go back to work, it's $2,500 a month for childcare. And, she's like, why would I go back to work and work for zero pay only for someone else to watch my kid? I can't disagree with that. So, but a lot of those figures this morning are alarming, because inflation is it's out of reach. So, it's a problem.
And just a couple quick comments. Just a big thanks to you and everybody that worked on this. I've read through it. It's a lot of work that you've put together. So, and I really like how you've broken it down to really 4 categories, and that's business retention, expansion, recruitment, workforce development, available lands, and childcare, and then all the work underneath each one of those. So as I read through it, just again, a big thanks for your hard work. I think it's a real clear path forward for us, and just keep up the great work, and we look forward to hearing more about this in the future. So thank you. So Colleagues, this is information only, and so again, thank you, and we'll go ahead and move on. So Nancy, what is next?
All right, next, we're going to continue with Dan Johnson and Laura Edmonds. We have the Economic Development Funding Tools.
You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Go
This
ahead.
is the Laura and Dan show today.
Yeah.
You lucky people. Okay, no reintroductions, right? All right, so talking about, we are coming to you today, asking if you, the board, have any interest in staff assessing additional economic development incentive programs for future consideration. Currently, the Office of Economic Development has access to very limited funding or incentive tools. And these tools, what we primarily consider using them for is the business expansion, retention, development, as we talked about, right? The BRE. Our focus is providing the business-friendly environment in Clackamas County, and just through that, just the variety of work that we do, and some of these tools do help. As you've already heard, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse, so to speak, as noted in the previous presentation, we have the enterprise zone, we have the direct financial assistance through grants, and we have our strategic investment zones, which is for urban and rural. Attachment A provides an overview of the tools that are currently in use, and then tools that have been considered and/or used in the past that are no longer in use. It's a lot. And then, of course, any new tools and incentives that could potentially be implemented. Mind you, the list that you're looking at, these are just concepts, these are ideas for us to consider and bring back to you. Staff has performed limited research on some of these potential tools, and that could be established in the county at the request of your request for consideration. These are not, excuse me, just lost track. There's a lot here. If you'd like us to research any of these tools or additional tools further, then we'd like to ask you today for that option.
It's pretty simple. We haven't approached the board in a long time about possible opportunities for business assistance. These fall, just to be frank, they fall into a couple of different categories. One, some of them fall, and there's just a snapshot of like a variety in your attachments that kind of talk about current tools we use, tools we used to have that we no longer use, and then last but not least, tools we've never used. Those fall into kind of different categories. One, they may fall into, for example, a tax abatement component, okay? Not a permanent tax abatement, a limited time tax abatement. So you think about those tax abatement programs, if not for the tax abatement, you don't see a larger project. The larger project has a higher return for the county in out years in the tax structure on their assessed value. They may fall into grants and loans or programs like that. They may fall into assistance programs. So, for example, new ways to finance projects. CPACE is a tool that's really kind of coming online right now that people have interest in, which is a kind of a different way to collect dollars based off the taxing system that pays the debt service on the lending for a particular development. We've had tools in the past, and I'm not saying bring urban renewal back. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we've used tools like tax increment financing in the past. There's limits on it now, based on the citizens of Clackamas County have directed us on that. But it has been a tool that we've invested in a lot of infrastructure in. So all we're looking for is, does the board have interest in looking at tools, additional tools to help assist economic development? If so, we will go away. We will come back with a comprehensive list, a matrix, kind of an analysis of what these tools do and what they don't do, and a recommendation on possibly advancing some of these. Some of them, maybe not. Maybe they aren't the right fit for Clackamas County. But getting your feedback on that list and moving forward accordingly. Because obviously, if we do adopt some of these tools, it may require adoption of code, implementation of programs, et cetera. So this is the first discussion amongst a number we'd like to have with you. But it's a simple one. It's a yes or a no kind of thing component for us.
All right. Commissioner Helms got her hand on the light, so I'm going to call on you.
Well, you're right, there's a lot in here that haven't been used, and I see were paused during COVID, and I get that. Do you have any data that's from other jurisdictions, states that support which ones are most effective? I mean, if we only have like 3 that we're doing, that it's pretty open-ended with what we could do.
There's going to be data at the local level, the state level, and the national level in regards to a number of these. And it's really kind of a jurisdictional determination on what tools you want to use that really fit into your priorities, and how those tools are implemented. I used to run the Urban Renewal Authority for Clackamas County. I can speak very candidly about that. We invested in infrastructure. That was all we did. We didn't do a lot, we built a lot of infrastructure that supported either industrial growth, housing growth, commercial growth, and retail growth. Because high tide raises all ships. You get the infrastructure in place and the businesses can grow. Not all entities did that. Some invested in public projects. And these are public projects that are off the tax rolls. So it doesn't really get into the value of urban renewal and returning those tax rolls to our overlapping taxing districts and things of that nature. But there is return, large majority of these tools, there is return on those investments. It's, for example, a tax deferral program. I think, who was here for the discussion? I just want to relive this lovely discussion that the city of, what was it, Estacada? Malala. Estacada, who was looking for the tax deferral of like $20,000. What you didn't see behind the scenes, it was like a $20,000 tax deferral for like 2 years. But that $20 tax deferral had their pro forma work so they could double the size of the project. And you think about the thing that government has, we have perpetuity to look at that return on that investment because of the taxes, the property taxes that are being collected on it. So whenever we looked at a project, it was like, what's our investment up front? Then what's our 20-year at a minimum return on that investment? And a lot of times for these deferral programs, if they're short deferral windows, your return is 6 to 8% across the totality of that. And it keeps paying beyond that. So those are kind of the detailed assessments that need to be done. And it's also what your tolerance is. You may think about the fact that we don't want to assess a deferral program for more than 3 to 5 years. SDCs are always talked about. Do we want to do an SDC waiver program? Well, we don't waive them. We would do a methodology update and transfer them. So it's what your appetite might be for these various programs.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, I just want to say again, I think we need to look at every and all options because I think we need more tools in order to do this. And I think that obviously not all of them will fit, but I think we might find a few pieces of gold in the, the pot as you move ahead and do an analysis. So I'd say it's a great idea. Once again.
Okay. I think we're looking for a motion today.
I'm sorry, what?
So,
For a motion? If you're
So-
ready.
Yeah, I thought I might comment just real quickly, and then maybe we could move forward to the motion, but I just have to compliment, when I've read through this, one of the big ones, I drive through Canby a lot, and Columbia Distributing is huge. And I had no idea about this till I read this, about really the impact has invested approximately $60 million since 2020, right? And, obviously a huge economic impact. And I think those are the kinds of things that really can make a dramatic impact. I also just want to comment on the other one that I think is great, and whether it's county loans or loan guarantees or forgiveness loans, really helping small businesses. I think right now, we've all kind of seen a lot of the businesses struggle and seeing if there's ways to kind of help support them and new businesses that want to come in. Because according to this one study that you said in Harris County, Texas recently partnered with a not-for-profit lender to establish and manage $17 million in revolving loan funds designed to support small businesses. So I very much value the research and information that you put together. And again, just want to say, nice work. And I think maybe we are at a point maybe for a motion then.
I move we direct staff to return with details on new economic development incentives for board consideration.
Second.
Right. Commissioner Helm has moved to direct staff to return with details on the new economic development incentives for board consideration. Commissioner Schrader seconded. Any further discussion?
No, I will just say that Columbia Distribution Center was supposed to go on Highway 212 at 172nd in the old city of Damascus, and lost opportunity. Dang, yeah.
But we did get it in the county.
You did get it in the
Okay.
county. Thank
There
goodness.
is I'm looking optimistic.
Yeah,
We got a
thank
little win there. So, good point. So clerk, are you ready to call the poll for us?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Nancy, what's our last session for now?
All right, last, we're going to continue with the Dan and Laura Show. Industrial Site Readiness Study Update, and of course, we have Dan Johnson and Laura Edmonds to present.
All right. Hello again. So here we are. So as you've stated, the availability of land continues to be priority for the Board of Commissioners. You have expressed most recently through the adoption of your 2030 strategic plan, a need for available lands for county, for business development. So our work continues to increase land availability and foster a healthy economy in Clackamas County. So this work is multifaceted, spans across a number of programs and departments, and generally consists of regional coordination and facilitation, land suitability assessment, and the industrial site readiness study. So this is coming to you in different phases, but today we're going to focus primarily on the work we're doing through the industrial site readiness study. So as I've indicated, the study, we've contracted, the study is starting, and we should have some results in about 12 weeks. This is the work group and industry experts that are coming together have been examining pathways to evolve our land use system to support adequate supply of usable industrial land. And this work will continue through the winter and with conversations with our partners like Metro. The future strategy implementation team updates will provide a more holistic summary and will describe how all of these pieces of the work will interconnect. And the following update today, again, is regarding the ISRS, our Industrial Site Readiness Study. This is going to be a strategic assessment of the county's current state, but unincorporated Clackamas County only. It will not include the cities. I want to be clear. It's unincorporated Clackamas only. So we are identifying the potential sites that are 5 acres or greater that support industrial use. And then a byproduct of this study, an additional study that's taking place, will also assess industry needs for key sector needs for land use. The results of this analysis will provide a snapshot of the current conditions and more detailed regarding true land characteristics, and it'll help us prepare the work that's going currently being undertaken by Business Oregon for a site characteristics study, and that will identify traded sector industries and the site characteristics that they need, the resources, the infrastructure support, everything. And Business Oregon is currently doing that study, and that will complement what we're doing so we can have a true picture of what industry needs are. Okay? You authorized this study in November 24, and so, again, we've entered into the contract. I don't need to repeat myself there. So some of the data set that the study is going to capture, the last study that was performed was in 2018, so it's been over 5 years since we did this. The consulting company that's going to be doing this for us is the one that did our previous studies, so we're able to purposefully used the past studies to consolidate, and that's why the study can be performed in as little as 12 weeks, because we have a lot of the data sets already. They are going to be looking at those 5-acre and larger parcels. Probably, they're going to go up to as much as 100 parcels if those exist, if 100 parcels do exist that are buildable. And what they're doing is they're going to categorize those parcels into 3 classifications. The first classification is development ready. The second, developable with constraints. And the third class will be unlikely to be developed. So they'll identify those, so we'll get a true picture, a true snapshot of what actually is developable and buildable in our region for unincorporated Clackamas County. So that's what we have today. That's your update. As soon as those reports are completed, we'll be able to bring the results back to you.
So this is, again, one of those topics that's kind of tripping over a little bit the implementation team. And I just want to share with you, this is a 4-legged stool when we talk about this discussion around available industrial lands. You've got the work that we're doing now through this particular study, which is going to basically identify what we do truly have available for industrial lots. That's going to partner with the Business Oregon work, which is going to do a detailed assessment of what our sector's needs are for lots. So you have here's who we are truly right now, here are the sectors we have, and here are kind of properties they need, okay? And number 3 is we don't have funding for this, but we're going out for the funding. This is the work that's happening with the Regional Coordination Group, which is it's now called the Land Suitability Assessment. It used to be called the Development Ready Land Study. We're hoping to get funding from Metro to do that, which is really a detailed look at the areas unzoned for industrial inside the urban growth boundary and some urban reserve areas. And then last but not least, it is a discussion with our regional partners about how we are actually messaging regional needs around industrial lands. It's the work that Commissioner Helm's been doing prior to her becoming a part of the Board of County Commissioners with WEA, having a discussion with our metro region and partners that are there. If you want to expand on that, feel free. But it's bringing all of those 4 stool legs together to really discuss that, which we'll have a much more detailed discussion on when we come forward with the implementation team update. So just wanted to share all that.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, and I served on that momentarily until I was appointed to this position, but have been staying on top of it since it's been going on. But I'm so curious to see how our industrial land availability overlays with what Metro says is available. That's what I'm interested to see, if our numbers jive, if the map jives. There's been pushback, as you know, from Metro because they justify their aggregate numbers of acres available, but there's little teeny tiny sites that you can't do anything with in very, strange places that are hard to get to. So that's when you say it can be done in 12 weeks, I'm like, yes, that's quick. So this is going to be very interesting. This is about the same time that they're coming out with that study that they've been working on for, goodness, quite a long time. So yeah, I'm thrilled.
And if the board recalls, this is that dialogue where we have Metro out there saying, you've got a 20-year land supply of industrial lands.
Right.
And the methodology is including lands that are sloped at 20%.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
I'm not sure how much you develop
Yes.
property. It is difficult to develop an industrial site with
Right.
those kind of characteristics. So
And they've been on the books for 20 years and no one's done anything with them, and there's a reason why, which is what we were trying to explain.
Yeah.
If no one's bought it, if no one's even sniffed around and shown interest, there's got to be a reason why. So let's take those back, give them back to the city or whatever jurisdiction they belong in, and let it be developed as something else, or parkland or something. So, yeah.
All right, Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, so I remember the 2018 report, and it's on a shelf somewhere, so I'm glad to hear maybe it won't be sitting on the shelf, but you'll also be at least using it as some background, and then COVID hit, and of course, that was right between us, so we never acted on it. And I share, Commissioner, your concern about Metro. I think we probably all do. I've always felt that their land studies have been somewhat flawed because, again, what you said, the acreages that are going to be essentially unusable, and to finally get something we can actually move on and work with and get, a map for it I think it'd be a huge opportunity again, and then we can really start to target the folks that we want to help expand here as part of our strategy. So I'm stating the obvious, I know, but I surely appreciate all your hard work.
But you're hopeful. That's all we can ask for.
There you go. I'm fun to work with, right?
Commissioner West?
I just don't think we should be shocked that government bureaucrats don't understand and know what actual business and industry needs to thrive and be successful. The fact that their assessments haven't actually delivered the type of look that we need to be effective and to grow that part of our economy is by no surprise. And those two entities have different desires and different outcomes. And so you're having one entity that clearly doesn't understand the other, telling the other what it needs and what it can do and where it can do it. And so we've really limited the market to actually do what it does well and to pick these places out with fair and reasonable regulations and good and healthy boundaries, but also still allowing the freedom to be able to grow and establish business and industry where they know it will be best for the economy and, not the consumer and the community. So it's by no shock that those dusty plans, Commissioner Schrader, still sit on those lonely shelves without any results or progress. But I know we spent a good amount of money to get those reports done with, once again, no outcomes that are relevant to business and job creation. I think we're trying to right that wrong here. I appreciate the work you guys are doing, and I'm excited to see that overlay too. I think it's a really good insight, Commissioner Helm. What is real, and then what have we been told or gaslit about for a number of years? So, thank you for that. I look forward to the completed project.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, well, I can remember studies dating back before 2018.
Are they stacked on top of each other?
Matter of fact, when I first came here was Dave Senior.
Yeah.
And others handing me, hey, look at this. Look at the 1990s, right? Land study, So it's, we've been ringing that bell
We've been
a
doing it
long
for a
time.
while.
And what was the name of that site we had that we developed fully off the Clackamas River, off of 122nd area, back down in there?
You forgot?
I forgot the name of it.
I cannot believe, I've talked about it so much.
I know.
We finally got sick of the name. The Clackamas Industrial Area Opportunity Site.
No. Chow site. Chow site, yeah, Chow site.
I remember that
So
too.
where I'm going with this, and then, of course, watching the economic development and Canby's urban renewal industrial area, and seeing not only the Columbia site, but seeing OLCC with their warehouse, and also seeing Sequoia, what's the name of it? Sequoia Logistics, right? Truck-intensive warehousing. So, it's like, I think we talked about envisioning high employment per square foot, right? Using that as a metric of success. Trucking and manufacturing, trucking warehousing doesn't really offer that much. So we've had this conversation for a long time, Dan, you and I, and Laura. And so I guess it's how do we get the product we're looking for, in this sense? I mean, what product are we really looking for? We want jobs, right? But when we get jobs, the state gets that revenue for the most part. If we get assessed value, the county benefits. So you know where I'm going with this.
All these policy sessions, they're just blending together.
Oh.
So let's go back to the discussion on the tools you just had. The tools dictate the ability for the county to be involved in what the economic drivers and assistance that we can provide to a project. In that particular project, we specifically bought that property, we consolidated that property, we removed all the wetland obstacles associated with it, worked with Business Oregon to build the infrastructure down to the site, and turned a gravel pit into an industrial park. You drive down there, it is mind-blowing. That was a career ender. Like, I thought my career-ending light was starting to flash. You start to have a heart attack about it actually getting built. But we dictated that stuff as a part of the tools and the assistance that we were looking to get. It dealt with the acquisition price. So I think, if I can't recall correctly, but we had a floor area ratio that said we wanted a certain amount of square footage of development per land. We had an employee per square foot objective there, which they had to meet to satisfy to get into the property. And then we had a wage rate component associated with it. And again, Our ability, I don't want to say dictate because it's a partnership with business, but to provide assistance allows us to provide targets and objectives. And that is kind of where those two things meet. Historically, you've had other entities that have taken more of a restrictive role in trying to reach those objectives. I'm not necessarily a fan of having government restrict access to business of certain types. It's more like, how do we work with you and assist you to be profitable and successful for Clackamas County? So, but again, the how I really think relates then back to the tools that we're looking to implement that can be the assistance to the business itself.
Well, and, another tool I just look at, in a way, not really a tool, but infrastructure, right? It's the highways. Look what's happening in the I-84 corridor out in Gresham, right? I mean, huge industrial manufacturing investments being made out of there. A lot of land, but it just blows my mind. I thought they had a lot, and then there's more, and then there's more. So, which leads me to our favorite discussion about the Sunrise Corridor and the opportunities out there. And I know that there's a little topographical issues and challenges, but how much of that is challenged by the geo? They say how much of it is rock? How far deep down it is rock? It's really not developable, and yet. So, can you enlighten me a little bit more, Dan, on what's out there, or Commissioner Helm? I mean, I keep on hearing this. I don't want to call it a myth, but there's certainly a lot of land out there.
Lava land, yeah. Just ask Sunrise Water when they started digging down to put in their foundation for their building and came across boulders the size of VW bugs, Yeah, and the layers, when you see those cut back, it's absolutely fascinating. You see geographical history there. So it's challenging, but it's doable. It's just more money. It's change orders and change orders and change orders.
That's a big change order. But I think one of the biggest things that you've seen is that the flexibility in the discussion around what the Sunrise was and what the Sunrise can be. And I say that because when I say the Sunrise was an 8-lane freeway blowing through that entire community at one level and done. There is benefit that occurs when you can split those corridors and the design and you do more of a geological assessment of opportunities and where they're at. You can have grade separation. You can have things at the same level. You can elevate for structure. So that design change and design concept itself really helps kind of defray some of those cost increases that you're talking about. Again, it's a big project. In fact, we're having talks right now about how we get that local section. And we've talked about that a little bit. How we get the local section kind of built, because that was a part of Phase 1. We partnered to get kind of that Phase 1 work done. Lawnfield Road, we did some design and construction on that. Minuteman Way was a part of the JTA. Tolbert was a part of the JTA. But we're trying to figure out how to kind of pull together some of that stuff. And I think that's kind of the first step, is to get that local section moving. And that can be kind of a participatory element for the county to kind of start leading. And still, we've got property out there, which they need.
And I know the topic here is industrial, but, some of these areas where we're also talking also has a lot of housing potential as well.
Yep.
And commercial potential to go right along with that. But all on board, I just think that, having a transportation linkage is really important, and I-84 corridor is highly successful because, it's got a lot of capacity. It holds a lot of capacity.
It does.
That hopefully the Sunrise or Highway 212 will ultimately have something close to that.
Yep. That's the
Maybe not a
objective.
freeway, but at least a highway.
Till it dead ends in Damascus.
All right.
There's that.
Well,
I'll be gone
thank
for
you.
that
This
one.
has been informational only. I just, again, want to thank staff for all the hard work. And right now, unless Nancy has anything else, this will conclude our final policy session. Do you have anything?
That's all today. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today, and we're adjourned.
Great. Thank you so much.